Welcome to another edition of PENSDOWN. This is the program where we sit with journalists, practicing or otherwise, and get to understand their journalism journey, what they went through in the line of duty. Today, I have been joined by an experienced broadcast journalist with demonstrated track record of working in the print and broadcast media. He is skilled in broadcast journalism, editing, and news reporting. He is a strong media and communications professional, and while in active practice, he had working relationship with some respected media houses, such as Ghana News Agency, the People Magazine of Liberia, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and TV3 Ghana, rising through the ranks in an impressive career spanning almost 4 decades before retiring. He is a product of the Ghana National College and Ghana Institute of Journalism. Mr. Newlove, Mamatta Jr. is my guest on PENSDOWN today. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you, Mr. JC.
Right. You did almost 4 decades in journalism, majority of which was in the broadcast field. First of all, I want to find out why did you settle on journalism in the first place as a profession?
Well, if I can make one quick correction, I actually did 31 years in journalism.
Right.
31.
Okay.
Okay. Journalism,
yes,
offers a wide range of adventure. That's the way I saw it before I went into the profession.
Okay.
I like to travel. I like to see things for myself.
Okay.
And so I believed journalism would offer those opportunities. So I went into journalism school shortly after completing my O-level result examination, I beg your pardon. My WASI O-level examination. I worked a while at the establishment secretariat, which is the ministries, the head office for the ministries. And then I got into the Ghana Institute of Journalism in 1981. No, I beg your pardon, 79, I beg your pardon, 79.
All right.
And I completed in 81.
Okay.
True to my word, I believe journalism has offered me a wide range of travel and some adventure anyway, because I had that in my blood when I was very young. I like to move about. I like to get to know things. You can see it in the way I worked for some time in a place and had to leave and then go somewhere else and come back later, that type of character. I wasn't actually a rolling stone, but at least at the end of the day, I did gather some moss.
Right. So, which assignments during your time of active practice stand out for you as the most challenging in your career?
Well, everything was challenging, but some worked to a degree. I remember we went to the United States in November 2001 to cover the 7th African World Expo Marketplace and Conference. Actually, this was linked to the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA.
AGOA, yes.
Which actually, AGOA offered an opportunity to open the doors for US-Africa business links. And while there, African countries like the Cameroon, Ghana, Nigeria, and Tanzania did exhibit their products. Ghana was, I remember, represented by Gihok distilleries. There were other private Ghanaian exhibitors who were there on their own to exhibit their wares, make contacts, and have a link to the American market. It was a very interesting assignment because actually we only stayed for 3 days in Michigan.
Okay.
And we covered most of the opening ceremonies. We covered the exhibitions. We interviewed exhibitors. And at the end of the day, I think I had a good story for that was TV3. TV3
Okay.
sent me on that mission. I
All
went
right.
on the auspices of TV3.
Mm.
There is another assignment I did attend in Libya.
Okay.
In fact, it was a very interesting and happy assignment where I happened and had the opportunity to meet the late Colonel Gaddafi. In fact, I was standing less than 2 feet from him at a point, and we did cover the assignments, and he was offering Africa several opportunities in the fields of agriculture, banking, and several other sectors. I went with the vice president at the time, Dr. Mahama.
Yes.
And we did have
Alhaji Aliu Mahama.
not Alhaji Ali Mahama, the former president.
Oh, okay.
The former president, yeah, President
Okay.
Mahama.
Okay.
President Mahama, I mean, yeah. He
All
wasn't
right.
foreign minister.
Right.
He wasn't foreign minister. That's right.
Okay.
So that was another challenging assignment because we were only two on the beach, me and my cameraman.
Okay.
And in fact, the situation was so hectic. There were several other foreign journalists who had come to cover the occasion, and it was a hustle. I remember I had to be lugging my cameraman's tripod all around the place, and it was quite an experience. It was interesting, and we did get what we wanted. We got our news story, and then we came back home.
Oh. So journalism today is suffering a lot of attrition. There are so many trained, qualified professionals that are abandoning the craft. Some of them are moving into corporate communications. Others are doing entirely different things, unconnected to communications at all. From where you sit, what do you think may be accounting for this trend today?
Yes, you're right. I've realized that myself. But what I feel is usually the conditions of service, at least I want to look at the private journalism industry.
Okay.
The conditions of service used to be very, very uninviting, if I should put it that way. But those who happen to be working for private newspapers and the private media actually put in a lot, and they did their best to get their stories. You see, right now, opportunities are opened for journalists to go to the Institute of Journalism, go to Legon for a postgraduate degree, and then try and be very qualified for the job they want to execute. So most times, people go to the university after whatever they do journalism, and when they come out, they don't even want to fit into the established media institutions in the country. Because number one, they feel with their superior qualification, they are not getting the right remuneration.
Okay.
And there could be other areas where it would offer better opportunities. So they slip and go the other way. But on the whole, I think journalism is improving. You know, with the advent of the private media these days, the number of television stations, radio stations, newspapers that are on the market has suddenly offered a wide range of opportunity for several journalists. And I hope they would stay in the profession and even improve it further. with the passing of the Freedom of Information Act in
Yes.
2020, I think this has also given journalists an avenue to seek the truth. Seek the truth in the sense that whatever they want to put in their story, they can corroborate. They can check it again and again and make sure what they're saying is fact. So if there is any controversy about anything within a story, at least the journalist can say the sources are there. You can check from here or you can check from there. So that should even empower journalists to do more and seek the truth, speak the truth. Because if your story is not factual, of course, right from the editing desk, your superior is going to take certain things out. But if you can tell him this is true and refer him to certain areas where he can authenticate the facts, then I think everything will be smooth sailing, and journalists should try to be writing that way. Recheck your facts and produce them. When there's a problem, you can prove the authenticity of your story. This is what is offered by the Freedom of Information Act.
Right.
But I also think on the whole, I mean, we don't have anything like 100% freedom of expression anywhere in the world. You see, because government will only give you what it feels you need to understand something. Government won't give you the whole thing. If government feels certain parts of what you are seeking through the Freedom of Information Act can impinge on the security of the state, then government is going to withhold that. And if government withholds that, that is where you have a whole lot of redacted text on the information you're looking for. You might never get the truth. Anyway, this shouldn't discourage journalists. They should strive harder, make sure they print the truth and the facts. That's what counts in this profession.
Right. So there is the increasing political ownership of the media. So many politicians are now setting up media houses. As a democracy, is there a cause for concern?
Yes, there should be a cause of concern, and there is a cause of concern. In fact, this can be very dangerous to democracy because let's say the powers that be or the group in power can always leverage the press to its disadvantage. It can chart a course for the press to follow, however independent they think they might be. If you have several of them, I think it's even more dangerous. But our laws allow for politicians to establish these media outlets, either in their name or through their surrogates. So I think journalists should be very careful and very critical. They must know who they are working for and who is their boss. Where his boss stands on the political level should be paramount. But then we have the problem of money. Maybe his boss who owns the paper is pushing a lot of money into it, and so the journalists feel very, very comfortable there in the first place. And so they happen to sort of toe the line of the media house. And that could be the political direction of the owners for their own good.
So does journalism pay?
Well, as I did journalism all my life, of course I got paid every month. But in fact, if you compare it with other professions, journalism doesn't pay much. and you risk a lot on the other side. You risk a lot in getting your story. You put in a whole lot of effort to have the news done. But in fact, the remuneration is not at par. That is why some of them go into, well, I wouldn't want to go there right now until I'm actually asked about it. But journalism doesn't pay in this country. It doesn't pay at all. Journalists are having a hard time in this country. It looks like things are opening up a bit with the number of other media institutions that are coming on board. But still, I think the owners can do a little bit better to improve the plight of journalists in this country. And I think the Ghana Journalists Association should be a strong pillar supporting the community of journalists in the country. They don't seem to be doing much to elevate the plight of journalists. So I think they should even do better. Yeah.
Should journalists be licensed?
Well, just like any other profession, I think they should be licensed. They should be licensed. I think doctors are licensed, aren't they? The medical profession, that's right. Even the nurses, now teachers are being licensed. So why not journalists? It's a profession. So at least you can make sure you go through the right rudimentary training and come out with a better understanding to serve journalism when you complete your academic career. Licensing a journalist is not an impediment, it's an enhancement to a journalist's reputation. Gone were the days when people went on assignment with nothing and claimed they were journalists and they got their way. So if this sort of fundamental documentation is established, I think journalists will feel secure enough to do their job properly.
Right. While in active practice, were you at any point in time approached with anything monetary or material to compromise the facts of any story you were doing?
Well, generally speaking, and I'll tell you the plain truth, not to compromise anything, not to compromise the facts of anything. I wouldn't have accepted whatever was being given out. But shall I say it has become a custom in Ghana here to go on assignment and expect to be given something. If it comes with no condition, I see nothing wrong with it. But then it acts as a training ground for making you feel every time you go out on assignment, you must get something. Somebody must give you something. Some instances, you don't ask for it. You never ask for it. But then the organizers of whatever assignment will come out and say, this is to thank you for whatever reason. Generally, so you give them good coverage. I believe that is understandable. But taking money to change the story, I think is very bad. And I have never done that in my career.
What you just raised is the issue of sole. That is, whenever journalists go on assignments, they are given some white envelopes and all. Now,
that's right.
A number of colleagues, senior and junior, that have hosted on PENSDOWN here, have shared divergent opinion on this same matter. Now, one of them who strongly is against that practice says that as a reporter, your job ends when you hand over your story to your news editor or whoever assigned you to cover the event. If I should take 200 cedis from you as an event organizer and I, the reporter, I do not have the power to exercise discretion over what should eventually be published or broadcast, and your story doesn't get published, some of these
Yes,
event organizers will come chasing you, demanding answers as to why your
that's
story
right.
was not published.
And
In
then the
this
cat will be let out of,
circumstance,
yeah.
yes, in this circumstance, is it folly or it was bribe? What exactly is it?
Well, it's a very dicey situation since you are
Mm,
saying you don't have the last say
yes,
to what happens to the story. Maybe
yes.
because of several other reasons, your story
Mm,
couldn't go that day.
mm,
Meanwhile, you had accepted the money and assured whoever that the story will go. You see it on
mm,
air this time and this time. In fact, this has happened on several occasions in
mm,
several newsrooms,
mm,
including the newsrooms I have worked in.
yeah.
The problem is taking 200 Ghana cedis is quite a sum. Maybe you didn't even ask for it. It was
Yes,
given to you.
unsolicited.
Yes, unsolicited, you see, but it's a bit dangerous. It's a bit dangerous, and it casts a shadow on your character as a
Yeah,
journalist, actually.
yeah. Mm,
You know, it damages you to a point. Even if the story is used the following day or 2 days after, I don't think the organizers of the event will be very happy with you.
exactly.
Then they should also understand that, in fact, you are small fry. You only came to do the job and take the goods to the shop.
Mm,
And they must also understand that there are superiors above us.
yeah.
When we go out on assignment, we have superiors. And in fact, there are instances when organizers have come to see the superiors even before the journalist has been sent out.
Yeah.
And so the journalist goes and it's easy to say he doesn't get anything because everything has been taken care of above his head.
Mm,
These things happen. They do happen. But I think we should be cautious and we should try and live according to the ethics of the profession. Yeah.
so you worked with GBC for a very long time, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation.
Yeah.
At the time you were at GBC, especially the television arm
Yeah.
virtually had a bit of a monopoly in this country. But
Yes.
today we have a much more liberated airwaves where television stations almost in every corner, if I may put it that way, you can find one. Working at the GTV or the GBC newsroom generally, now there are a lot of suspicions about GBC out there. I may want to put one or two to you for you to confirm or deny for us. Is it the
Okay.
case that there were times political pressure was brought to bear on the handlers of news within the GBC newsroom to twist the story this way, that way, give prominence to this, trash that, put this here or do that? Were there certain unseen hands that were remote controlling a number of things within the newsroom?
Well, with my experience, I wouldn't say I know of any such instances. In
Okay.
fact, GBC show editors were quite experienced and independent.
Okay.
I believe we are talking about a time when we didn't have private radio and television stations.
Yes.
Yeah, that did not give them any advantage, over anything. I think they performed their duty quite ethically. But much as I would say that, I would also say if I was a junior man working there,
Mm,
I wouldn't know if something was going on way above my head.
that's right.
So I'm trying to be very careful.
Mm,
But I happened to step in those shoes myself,
okay.
where I was a show editor for quite a time. And in fact, neither my superiors or anybody else try to influence me in any way concerning stories. Officialese from government was just that. Being a government broadcaster, a national broadcaster, you just have to use it. If government sends out a release or something, I mean, you just can't do anything about it. And there's nothing coming with it anyway. It's just that it should be publicized. So it will be publicized. But in fact, I wouldn't like to commit myself, and I would just say I'm not aware of any such situation where outside influences have either killed stories or spiked stories in any way. We can make a little difference when you talk about politics.
Yeah.
Political stories. You know, politics is something very different. But even there, whatever GBC ever used, covering political rallies, giving equal time to contestants, was strictly adhered to. And I think there was no outside influence. I beg your pardon.
Right. What is your assessment of the quality of journalism in Ghana today?
The quality of journalism is improving, and it is still improving. I think it will have to improve more. Why I'm saying this is that we've come a long way. We've come a long way since 1979, 1981, 1985. We've covered serious stories involving military revolutions, installation of civilian governments, the constitution, parliament. I think all these offer the journalists plenty to learn and become a better journalist. Some people don't want to be going to parliament because there certain things don't happen. They say it's boring. But parliament, in fact, is an educational institution. If you want to open up your mind and be the real journalist you are, you can learn a lot from parliament, from the parliamentary procedures and everything. And it helps. You can make friends in parliament, and they can help you one way or another. So there is always an opportunity for a journalist to learn something, to benefit from what he's working on. This is what is going to actually improve journalism in the country. Everybody should have a chance of covering everything. Later on, if you want to specialize in something, fine. I believe journalism is still progressing in this country. It is still improving. Gone are the days when journalists were arrested or whatever for what they call breach of security. I mean, for writing stories concerning the security of the state. Journalists have been put before court. Some have been jailed and have come out. They are still journalists and even more vocal. So I think journalism is improving, but the younger ones coming up must be prepared to learn. Learn through everything. That is your experience. Have an experience of the courts. Have an experience covering parliament. Have an experience covering sports. Have an experience covering schools, school performances, school examinations. This is all ways to improve yourself, to be able to be an overall journalist. And then when you're ready, You can choose a specialization. That's what I think.
How has social media shaped journalism practice?
Yeah, social media. In fact, this is my personal impression. Social media seems to have made journalism so easy, but it is not. It is not so. That's why we have a lot of problems with reportage on the social media. Some are basically not true.
Fake news.
Journalists don't, that's right. They don't take the chance to go and check their information because they want to be the first to put it out. Because on social media, everything is quick, everything is fast. But of course, you've got to put out the truth. You shouldn't put out fake news. And I think this is just the advent of social media. This is just the beginning. It's a media in which, if you don't take care, you could make certain small mistakes and get into very big trouble. Very, very big trouble. So journalists have to be careful. Journalists using electronic platforms on the social media will have to be very careful. And some of them don't basically have the requisite training, because here we have a platform where you can use pictures. And certain pictures, a well-trained journalist must not show. Certain pictures. You see, for example, my training at television taught me that if there was a murder and you could see two people lying down there, you, the reporter, will have to instruct your cameraman to take that visual at a distance so it's not too clear. Basically, you can see the outline of human beings, and that's all right. And then you mustn't go near, zoom in, take the blood, and all that, because it affects people in very different ways. Suppose you are just going to have your dinner and the news is at 7 o'clock, and suddenly there's a murder and you see all this blood and whatever, it won't help your audience. It will rather make them feel, you shouldn't have shown it. You shouldn't have shown that gory thing, So a cameraman can even mask the bit, blur the visual a bit. And this is what journalists on the social media must learn. They see everything and they put it out there, everything the way it is. Fine, but the story accompanying it might not even be appropriate. So I think it's the beginning. Some are going to learn through getting into trouble and being reprimanded. Others are going to take their time and try and learn how to do things the right way. That's my thought.
So what was that one thing that kept you in journalism for more than 3 decades?
Yeah, although I went in and out, as you can see, after my 2-year stint in Monrovia, Liberia, I came back home.
Yes.
I came back home, and that was the beginning. I actually got a job now, a steady job with GBC Radio,
yes,
where I worked for 9 years. But I sort of get fed up a bit, and I left. I resigned formally from GBC Radio and went to TV3. We were the pioneers of TV3. We were the first employees of TV3. When I left GBC with TV3, for TV3, I wasn't the only person. If you remember, Mr. Appenting, who was also with television at that time.
Befi
Appenting also joined TV3.
He later became MD of Graphic.
Yeah, that's right. So sometimes you got to jump about a bit and see if this place is better than that place or whatever. So journalism is something, you don't just leave it like that. Journalism, if you really enjoy what you do and you enjoy journalism, you don't just go away like that. I have not been working in journalism for the past 5 years now, but I'm always listening to the news. I listen to BBC, I listen to this, I listen to that. I watch foreign news programs and that type of thing. I mean, the urge to know what is even going on around you, both internally and in the world, is quite gratifying, very gratifying. I'm not too old. I can still work. In fact, I'm really looking for something to do.
Okay.
But I don't want to get into active journalism like it was before I retired in this country. I would do anything that can give me something at the end of the month. Fine. So journalism is great. It's full of adventure.
If we should roll back the hands of time 40 years, are you still going to choose journalism for a career or a profession?
Well, that's all I know. So I would say yes. I would say yes, because the adventure, not the adventure of this or that, but to enjoy journalism, you must be able to practice it with ease. You must have all the tools available to you to use. This is what makes the profession or its practice interesting. Journalism is good. We are very lucky inside this country where journalists are not being assassinated, shot dead, and things. A few instances have occurred anyway. A few instances have occurred. But on the whole, I think most journalists are treading a free path. There's not much danger in their way, I would say. Okay.
You have experienced two different worlds in journalism. When you entered, even the computer was not too popular. There were typewriters and other manual things which were used in processing the news.
That's right.
The computer came, the internet joined. Now there is
That's right.
even much more fast-paced gadgets, the smartphone, the tablets, and what have you, with digitization, among others. Yeah. How have you been able to stay relevant across all these evolutions of technology?
Well, that's what I was trying to say. As a journalist, you got to be interested in everything around you. I'm sure you can see things are happening. When I went to GBC, we had typewriters, like you're saying. Then suddenly they graduated to electric typewriters. And before you know it, they were using computers. Then the mobile phone came in and even revolutionized the whole thing even faster. Then the internet and all this. I think you have to be interested in everything, and you must know at least and master some of the media or the mediums that are used in news production. After all, it's not too difficult. So it's another avenue for learning. It's another avenue for learning. But if it involves electronic news gathering, then you must be sure you are gathering the truth, because certain things cannot be staged again for you to see it better. You've already recorded it already. So you must be careful. You must be careful, and you must do the right thing and use the media or the medium in the right way. This is it. We should never stop learning. I am learning a lot. I learned a lot today before I came to sit here. Although things were a bit topsy-turvy in the beginning. I'm still trying to brush up everything, and I'm even going to learn the more. So it's an opportunity. A human being never stops learning. When they die, they stop learning. But once you're alive, things are changing all over around you. And so you must learn. You must listen. You must use your eyes. You must learn. That's how I feel.
A good number of colleagues I have hosted here have told me that after their journalism training in school, what they came to meet on the field created a yawning gap between what happens in the classroom and the reality. How easy was it for you to settle in on the field after training in school?
Well, like you're saying, in the classroom, it is just theory. You are told this is what you do when you are in such a situation. This is how to handle it. When you get on the field, there is nothing like that. Everything is different. Everything has its own pace. Everything is happening in its own way. And you have to use your training as a journalist to bring everything to bear and have a story out of it. It's not too difficult, and I don't think it is too different. You just got to be alert. You open your ears and your eyes, and you can see further than somebody who just expects what he learns to be what he finds on the field. So when you get to the field and things are different, then you have to learn from there and continue learning from there. From there, what you learn never changes, because that's what actually happens in journalism. What you learn in the field is a final knowledge that gives you the qualification of a good journalist, because it never changes. It only changes when you're in the classroom and you are now learning it, or how to control or adapt to it. So we come back to the same thing. We've always got to learn. We've always got to keep learning. That's my admonition.
This has been PENSDOWN, and today I've had the honor of hosting one of Ghana's ace broadcasters, Mr. Newlove Mamatta Jr., an experienced hand in the field, and he's given us his thoughts and submissions on a number of issues while taking us through his journalism journey. That is what we talk here on PENSDOWN. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Jesse. Thank you very much.
Welcome. We'll be back next time with another edition of PENSDOWN. Do stay tuned.